So the PS4 is gonna get a PS1 and PS2 emulator to run those old games. Well, it's gonna be some streaming stuff. But before we get to this video, here's the question of the day. Alright, so basically there's a new report regarding the PS4 having an ability to basically emulate the PS1 and PS2 games from years ago, days of the past, you know, games that came out, legacy games basically, previous generations, games we've seen before, games that have been released many generations ago. I mean, apparently, they have this PlayStation Now streaming thing, which is basically a cloud streaming technology that is able to let you play PS3 games on your PlayStation 4, right? And the advantages, I guess, of this whole cloud streaming thing, if you can run it locally and assuming that everything works fine, is that there's not going to be any lag, you know, like it's going to be a smooth experience and readily available, and also assuming that there's going to be some kind of upscaling in the graphics. But as far as the PS1 and PS2 emulation, it's really strange, you know. They are definitely trying to upscale this thing because there's some, you know, there's certain titles that they re-released, you know, like remakes, HD remakes, so to speak, of the old games, particularly PS2 era, and then they released those for the PS3. You know, we've seen those, the God of War collection, I believe they had the Sly collection, and a bunch of other ones, you know, Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, there's another one. But apparently Sony's internal emulator is already used in the PS3 and PS Vita, but there's a new version in the works for PS4 that is supposed to aim for the native HD resolution regarding the PS1, PS2 titles. Now there's this one called PCSX2. It's an emulator for PlayStation 2, I guess. And they have, you know, they've shown examples like Silent Hill 3 where the graphics look quite upscaled and more detailed, and it's in 1080p. Like, I guess what they're trying to do is have these games run in HD, just completely upscaled. It just looks much more like 1080p, like modernized, you know what I mean? And I have really mixed feelings regarding this, because we're talking about PS1 era games and PS2. These games are just, a lot of them are old, they've been out for a long time, but they want the PS4 to be able to run them locally via streaming, so that the lag will, it's not gonna, there's going to be no lag. I mean, assuming that it's going to be completely smooth experience. And it sounds like it could be a decent idea, especially for older gamers, so to speak, that grew up on those systems, the PS1 and the PS2. And this could be another feature of the PS Now, or PlayStation Now. Yeah, that's kind of a weird thing, that it's like PSN, you know, they have the PSN and then the PlayStation Now. And launching in the US this summer, and it's gonna run PS3 games so far. I mean, it's just another cash-in. That's the main thing. That's the main problem I have. It's just another, let's make a quick buck off these old games, and that's what it is. Like, I'm assuming you gotta pay for these games all over again. You gotta buy them again. What are they gonna do? Release these fucking games for free? Fat chance. I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, let's re-upscale all these games all over again, So they run for free. I would understand if there was a service, you know what I mean? Like if you have to pay for PS Now on a fee basis, kind of like with Xbox Live. And so you get access to these games. You get to play whatever you want, but then obviously you get you have to pay at the end of the end of the month or on a yearly basis kind of thing. Instead of actually purchasing each game individually. I understand that, you know, and that kind of makes more it's a bigger draw for me. You know, it seems like okay, that's a pretty decent idea. I don't know. I really don't know. I got, again, the mixed feel. It's just like old games we've seen before, and then they just want people to essentially pay for it all over again. Because, again, it's not going to be free. And, I mean, if you have these games already, why would you want to get them again? Just play it on your current systems. That's the thing with me, is that one... I can't stand how they always have to go back to the past and try to make money off of it all the time. It's like this perpetual fucking cycle that, because it's the internet era and you can just download stuff and have access to the internet, these companies now just basically put everything online and they try to whore it off that way. And I can see 7 or 8 years from now, if they come out with a PS5, you know, with the 9th generation, and upcoming generations like that, upcoming systems that would replace, you know, the PS4 and the Xbox One, then they would fucking run old PS4 games and old PS3 games and everything else from the past, from like, you know, 10, 15 years ago, and everything in between, as streaming titles, as some sort of service that you gotta pay for it all over again. And I don't know, it just seems like a constant, perpetual money-making scheme. You know, it's like a big fucking scam to me. The gameplay is gonna be the same. Yeah, the upscaling of the graphics. And, you know, some of these games look like shit. Not all of them look good upscaled, you know, they look fine as they are. Sometimes, I mean, you know, like certain games look good as is on their original console. So I don't know. I mean, it's like, I don't understand it. You know, I've never gotten into the whole legacy thing. Like for me, if I want to play a game from, let's say, on the Dreamcast, then I'll go buy a Dreamcast and then buy the original titles. Or if I want to play a game on a GameCube that came out 10 years ago, I'll go get a GameCube, and so on and so forth. You know, the reason I have all these systems, you know, multiple PS2s, had a PS3, you know, 360s, PSPs, Game Boys, you know, DS, is to play those games specifically that came out and on those particular systems. You know, they're not really too hard to find. I don't know, I guess it just feels more authentic to kind of have it in your hand instead of some digital downloaded fucking thing or some stream thing. And I don't even know how that works, you know, the streaming thing. It's like, I guess you can't keep the game in your system? I'm assuming you can. You just stream it. It's kind of like a movie. You stream a movie and then that's it, you're done. You can't save it as a file, you know, and then go back to it and play it over and over again. See, that, I don't even know how that works. I mean, you know, it's fucking scary that gaming is going to be more digital and everything is going to be stream-based. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, 20, 30 years from now, every single game and every future console that comes out is just going to be a stream thing, and everything you get is only internet. You download it, or, you know, not even download it, but you have to stream it, and that's it. You pay a service on a yearly basis or something like that. There's no more discs. No more CDs, no more DVDs, no more Blu-rays, no more hard media. You can't keep it. You can't even download it and then store it in your system. It's just purely like a rental. So it almost goes back to like the arcade era, where you had to specifically go out, go to an arcade, pay the money to play the games, and then you go home and you don't have any more games. You don't, no more gameplay. Like it feels limiting. Yeah, that's a weird one, man. I don't know where gaming is gonna fucking head 50 years from now. Like where it's gonna end up. What's gonna happen to the systems, if there's gonna be any more systems, you know, and it's a weird time. The sad part is that, you know, there's a golden age with everything. Everything kind of gets its golden years, and it gets really hot and amazing, and the quality is great, the service is great. I think in terms of 2D gaming, you know, like 16-bit era, we saw the golden age of that with the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis in the early mid-90s. And then with 3D gaming, we might be seeing it, we might have already seen it, like with the 7th gen, with the 360 and the PS3 and the high-end PCs. We might have already seen the best of that, because all of that was surrounded by, you know, discs, and you could still buy it on disc. You could still go to the store and buy it and keep it and own it and have it. And now it might just head into that direction of everything is streaming. You know, you stream everything. I can really see that happening, seriously. That you can't even buy shit anymore. Really, you can't even keep it. You just have this box. You buy the box for like $1,000, and all you do is pay on a fucking yearly basis a certain fee to stream games that you want to play. I don't know, you know, it is, Jesus. I could see them doing that. I can see Microsoft fucking just completing their restrictions agenda, you know, limiting everything. No more used games, really. You can't have used games anymore because they don't exist. You can't trade anything physically. There's nothing. I don't know. I have no idea. You know, I sometimes think about how maybe 1,000 years from now, if gaming is still around, that it's not even going to be what we know as gaming. Like, television is going to be done. There's no more TVs to really play games on. Maybe everything is just going to be on the computer, like a computer screen or something like that. Holograms, maybe, like where you can just, you know, the virtual reality shit, the Oculus Rift, that might evolve into something else, like a real virtual reality thing. Kind of like the Matrix. And that's very realistic. That's not some sort of fucking unrealistic, like completely fantasy realm type of stuff. Like complete sci-fi. You know, that could happen. That could be a real potential thing where it's just a pay service. You put on the fucking goggles, and then you delve and immerse yourself in another world, in a virtual reality, but you don't own anything, and it just, I don't know. It's like, you know, try to explain gaming now to somebody from 500 years ago. You know, some farmer, some average farmer in a peasant village in England, you know, or what was known as England back then. Trying to explain them, you know, this is, you got a TV, you hook it up, you know, a console, the PS4 or the Xbox One to it, and this is how it works, and you play stuff on it, you know, it's like a game, and it's like real life, but not really a simulated reality. I don't, you know. It's hard to maybe digest all this stuff now. It's hard to, like, describe it, but I see it. You know, I can kind of guess what it's going to be like. You know, you can't really imagine it because you never know 100% what it's going to be like because we don't know the future. But trying to understand the direction of it and where gaming is going to be, I think it's going to be completely different if it still exists. And there's a lot of potential to it. You know, there's like training, you know, training people military-wise. I think they might already do that. You know, like in the military training, they fucking train people via video games. Like, this is what you do, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and you just kind of see this simulated virtual reality shit. And that's how you learn how to fucking kill people in the army, you know what I mean? Or maybe training how to be a fucking doctor, how to perform surgery. And it's a virtual reality, like, video game. You know, that's the training ground. Yeah, it's really bizarre. It's really like, you just... We think we have the highest technology. Imagine what they have, like, 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now. The crazy shit. If they still have gaming in the future, it's gonna look completely different. It's not even gonna be like, they're gonna look back on what we used to play, the Super Nintendo, the fucking the N64, the PS4, the Xbox One, all the stuff that we've seen. They look at that as like, look at that archaic, obsolete bullshit that you're doing. Like, ugh, you played it on a screen? You had to connect it to a box to play it on a 2D fucking screen? It's gonna seem so obsolete, so fucking ancient. Even now, you know, we look at the older systems like Atari 2600, which was only really like 30 years ago, and it's like, oh, that shit is so old. That shit is so like, ugh. Those games back then were just so crappy compared to what we have now. Well, 500 years from now, it's gonna be insane. It's gonna be like so fucking different. It's gonna be so advanced. Like, I can't even describe it. And here's the answer to the question of the day.